So, good evening to all present here. Uh, I'm waiting for 1 more minute or 2 more minutes so that others can join in. Because if something is left out for the CSR proposal writing, that has been highly missed out things. So let us wait for 1 more minute or 2 more minutes so that all can join in, and then I will start. Basically, let me give you the outline how and what I am going to actually explain on the CSR proposal writing. Firstly, I will discuss about what all exactly is in the CSR funding during the COVID timings, how the CSR funding has been done. And I will compare the CSR funding in relation to the pre-COVID era, how the CSR funding was there. And coming on to the, I will take on one of the example of SBI Foundation proposal. We will discuss about how the exactly some of the foundations, the premier foundations are rolling out their CSR proposals in way of request for proposals. So I will cover each and every segment of that particular RFP from SBI Foundation, and we will give a due deliberation on for the each of the pointers regarding that particular CSR proposal. And of course, it's a proposal wherein you can say set parameters are there, which we are actually explaining and or which we are submitting. But there is a different structure also which is working for CSR proposals. And on that and on those CSR proposals, what we are doing is there are several innovations which can be incorporated into that, because more or less whenever any of the RFPs are there from any of the corporates or any of the other foundations, it has a preset parameters, so we cannot innovate or write something more, you can say whatever we would like to explain it on. But as an annexer, we can add on to so many things in that. So I will keep on going with all those things. I request if someone is having logged in through the this thing laptop or the system, please keep on taking some of the screenshots so that we can share these particular screenshots to our team members, because others are not there. I think Mandakini ji, are you how you logged in, Mandakini ji? You logged in through this thing laptop or system? You are in the laptop, okay. So keep on taking the screenshot, and if someone is joining in, please admitting them. Admit all those people, okay. So I'm starting for the day. Good evening, good afternoon to all of you, those who are present here for today's National CSR Conference, where I will be actually guiding on how to write the CSR proposals. So please allow me to screen my screen first. Okay, so exactly this is how I actually went through for the general writing for CSR proposals and how to go for a CSR funding. Even we keep on writing for generals on the same. So this is a background, of course, how to go for general writing for CSRs. But it gives a introduction about how the CSR is exactly, what can be the role of the CSR, what exactly those acts are there, which Janmati has actually covered yesterday. So I will not be covering all this. In the year of 2013, it comes in with the under the clause of 135 of Companies Act, CSR has been mandatory for all the companies to work in. What exactly the fund is 2% of net profit. What is the budgetary cost for the implementation of the CSR projects, and how the overheads have been there, and what is the procedure for CSR funding. Here I will need to mention only one more thing, how exactly this CSR funding is being given to corporates, especially for PSUs. A separate fund is being actually allocated to this through CSR hubs, and that is through CISB and through PISU, for PSUs. A separate fund is being incorporated, and one-time corporate contribution or regular contribution can be made on to the CSR for CSR activities. So this can be on the collaborative mode, this can be on the triple PP mode, this can be on the specialized agencies mode. So wait a while, just I'm switching off my this thing. Just I'm joining within 1 minute from the other desk.
Sir, you are on mute.
Someone comes in for the actual inquiry on the in the office. So I moved on out of that. Okay, where we are? We were here. Okay, so this funding is through either the triple PP model, that's public, private, and partnerships, or in the collaboration of specialized agencies, or with the collaboration of other companies also. Generally, yesterday he was covering that how companies can actually go for the funding of their own companies. So that can be done on that to the CSRs. CSRs can be actually related towards the implementing agencies also to the NGO functionaries and all. So transparency is to be added for the CSR. Whatever is the 2% of that particular profit is being expedited for CSR activities. Maximum number of transparent agencies and transparent mandate is to be taken care for that CSR funding. How what can be the CSR funding? CSR funding can be through the business partners or through the agencies or through the NGOs. But more or less, when we talk about the NGOs, NGOs are facing the challenges on capacity building. They don't have any ICT infrastructure development. They are less being trained for all the CSR process, and they are less being trained about the section 135 of CSR. And of course, there is no such good governance at our level for NGOs, and skill building is how exactly it is. So this is the structure in the 2018-19, how the CSR was working up to the 2014 to 15 and 2018 to 19. There is a change, drastic changes. It's been increasing day by day from 1548 crore to 7473 crores up to 2018-19. It has reached out, and I will cover up some other things onto this because this was the previous year. That is 2018-19, 2020 and 21 is having a different structure. So I will not be covering this here exactly. The states allocation as per the allocations of the states, this is being reflected here, but I will take on the expenditure of 2020-2021 that I will cover up just now. What are the essential qualifications required that Dhanmati has of course yesterday covered up. So I will not be covering essential financial qualifications. This also been covered up. Okay, so this is the usual funding, how the funding is going on. Now comes on to the proposal, how exactly the proposal is being floated through various agencies. Let us go for that particular proposal, how that particular proposal is being sent out towards all. So let us start with some of the sample proposal which has been actually floated from SBI Foundation for one of the health projects. So this is the sample proposal which has been actually floated last year by SBI Foundation. They were working for one of the projects, and this is the guideline, and this is the evaluation form which is being shared by them to all the beneficiaries, those who are working for CSR or social development sectors. So the structure is a very common structure, a very common based structure they have followed. But the people, those who are into the CSR or those who are into the social development, they keep on saying that even the SBI Foundation's evaluation form or the proposal form is huge. It is asking so many documents to work on. But of course, they require these documents because they required a legitimate organization to work on for their CSR activities. So let us go through the particular structure, how they are asking for, or any of the organization is asking for. So in the initial phase, they are asking for this thing, what you call organization details. What is the name of the organization? What is the residential address? Name of the offices wherein situated. Suppose multiple cities there are their offices are. So they need to actually exhibit all the name of the or number of the offices wherein they are placed in, and how the organization setup is, whether it's been public, private, public limited or private limited or registered agency, or who all are the founders of there, what are the key leaders. This needs to be mentioned. What can be the focus areas of that? What is the mission of that particular organizations? What are the objectives? The geographical outreach of those organizations. Those who are actually into those who are actually came in to actually submit their proposals. What are their geographical outreach? Whether they are being focused to one of the city, or whether they are being focused to one of the state, or whether they are focused to multiple states, and if at all they are focused to multiple states, which all the states they are actually working in. So you need to exhibit each and everything. That is how the geographical or the global outreach is there for each of the NGOs that they need to exhibit. Coming down to what is the primary nature of the operations, how the funding is coming. Funding comes in 4 ways or multiple ways. So you,
Mr. Pradeep sir, आपका
Yeah.
document is not yet started. I think so. Somebody else also shared on the chat.
Let me-
It's still showing the document is yet to be opened.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
it's
only
for a
PDF.
Windows,
We can't see it.
So
Okay.
kindly just check on that, sir. Thank you so much.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Since how long it is there?
No, it's not there.
It never opened only, sir. The Word document, I guess you're talking about. It never
Okay.
opened.
Now it's visible to you all.
Yes, sir. Now
Yes.
something has come on screen, sir. A Word document.
Yeah,
Okay.
now we can see.
Okay, so the initial, let me start from the beginning, how that particular structure is coming up for the SBI Foundation. The complete structure is like this. You need to actually exhibit about your organization details, name of the organization, your address, your offices, wherever you are working in, about your founders, about key leaders of your organization, and then comes the vision, mission, and objective of your organization, the geographical outreach wherein you are working in. Suppose you are working for one of the state, you need to exhibit for that particular state, or if you are working for one of the city, you need to exhibit for one of the city. That is how the things are. Even you have to mention it for the website also. The primary nature of operations, how you are coming up for the funding agencies, how up to now or previously you have taken up any of the funding, either it's been done through donations or through any CSR or through other government agencies, or through any of the people, those who are actually funding to you. Even the foreign contribution is to be reflected against these funding agencies. Once we are actually reflecting the advocacy part, how we are taking up this advocacy roles. Our organization is taking for each and every advocacy policies, those which are working for people also, and those which are working for procurement also, and those which are looking out for other resources too. How the direct service provider is there, or research work is going on, or other things. What can be the primary nature of your organizations? Then the revenue, annual revenue you need to say, as per the last, whenever you are actually submitting your proposals. Suppose here they are asking for 3 years. Okay, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. This particular proposal was asked in the year 2020. So they have asked for last 4 years. Of course, here it is 4 years, but in that second column, if you see, they are asking for 3 years. Usually, all the companies, all the organizations are asking for 3 years of last year revenue structure, how exactly the financial structure is working at. Then comes in what are all the focus area where you are working in. For health and sanitation, you are working. For education, you are working. Skill development, you are working. Women empowerment, environmental, rural, others. So this was shared by SBI Foundations, but other organizations now they have come up with 10 of the segments here. The focus area has been expanded to or been extended to towards not only this rural development. It's coming under this thing transportation also. It's coming under the market linkages also. It's coming under this thing farmers protection also, and FPUs also, agriculture also. It's not reflected here, but of course nowadays each of the organizations, those who are asking for CSR funding or the proposal are coming up, they are coming with 10 of the focus areas. So of course it is here only reflected 6 of the focus areas, but usually it is like this. Activity you need to say what all the activities you have done in the past for the last 3 years. Previously, specifically they are looking for 3 years, but of course yet they are looking for more than 3 years also. If you have keep on doing for last 10 years or 15 years, you can add on as an annexure that you have done this type of exercises, these types of activities in the last 15 years. What can be the impact of that? During impact, actually, you need to exhibit the impact assessment of your activities, whatever the impact assessments have been done for those projects or for those minor projects or major projects. That can be, the projects can be for the month of 3 months, or project can be month of 12 months or so on. Even there can be a multi-year projects also. But you need to be exhibited with this impact assessment, year of experience of domain, and who all are the major funding agencies thereon, and what can be the scorings if you got some of the scorings on that. So that can be the scoring. And why scoring is actually, there are 2 criteria wherein they are asking for the scoring here. See, once they go for the evaluation of this particular proposal, for each of the segment, that is, if I take on from top to bottom up to now, up to 1.16, they keep on actually marking for each of the segment. And that is how for point number 1, they will give you the marks here in this particular area. That's you got this many numbers in that. Here they will be reflecting once they are evaluating your proposal that okay, health and sanitation, they have done this much area or this much impact is being done to them, and these many years of experience they have. They have a set criteria for that. Based on those criteria, they have a set marking and scale of marking for that. And based on those scale of marking, they are actually evaluating this thing. Now coming to the point number 2, that is the total score of the organization reviews. They are asking for how many contact persons you have, what kind of designations, and their email IDs. They are actually keeping track of each and everything and scoring for each and every segments here. Even if you take on what can be the regulatory criteria of this, are you a trust or the society or Section 8 criteria? Different organizations or different funding agencies have a different criteria set on, and even they are scoring on based on this. And they are exhibiting in their RFPs, request for proposal, they are exhibiting each and everything. That how the scaling or how the scoring will be there for that place of registration. This is a primary data which you are actually submitting. That is point number 3. Each and everything is primary data of yours, but you are reflecting it. Now this comes the political association. If you are anywhere politically associated with any of the organizations, you have to exhibit. See, SBI is more a legitimate organization. They are asking for each and everything. How the trade unions are working with you, how the political associations are working with you, how any other board members or directors or office bearers of those trade unions or political parties are associated with you. They are asking for these things, and they are actually scoring on that. That is why they are asking. What is the religious associations for that? Because if you have this type of associations, based on this, of course, some way they are exhibiting that, okay, we are not going with the political association. Somewhere they are saying, no, we are not going with the religious association. If you are exhibiting this thing, so you need to be very much specifically particular to go through each of the RFP before submitting it. Read out that particular RFP twice or thrice, and then start filling this particular form. Because for each of the segment, each of the you can say para, sub para, there are scorings, there are markings, and based on that, your evaluation is to be done. 12A, ATG, FCRA, 35AC, GST certificate. This all been been actually explained yesterday. And the registration certificate of the organization, MOA, AOA, AON, everything is going to be reflected. PAN card, copy of address copy, IT returns of 3 years, audited financial statements, any self-declaration, it is to be reflected. So this is how you need to be exhibited towards your financial statements and what all the things which you have been doing. Now comes, this is a very specific part where scoring is being done. That is for management and governance. See, if you go through the RFP and the scaling or the scoring of that particular RFPs or the proposals, they are very much particular about the experienced person to work on in your organization, how your organizations are working, who all are working for your organizations. They're keeping note of each and everything for that. So they are asking for the founder's name, the officials, those who are working, their name, their education experience, the year of experience, and the relevant experience. And even some of the organizations are asking for remuneration, but many are not at all asking for remuneration. But these three things, education qualifications, year of experience, and relevant work experience, because these are the preset criteria wherein we are actually scoring. Suppose a person is, if an organization is having a 10 of the persons having a 15 years of plus experience. So under that particular segment, they will be actually getting highest number of marks. That is, if I go through the PCBC, that is the procurement segment expose. But if I go through the PCBC and I am allotted with 10 of the marks for that particular segment, so I will be allotting each that particular organization 10 out of 10. This is how the things are. You need to be very much specifically particular about these things. That who all are working with you, or whenever you are framing out any of the council members, any of the management members, or any of the advisories, they should be actually having some of the experience. At least try to get your people more than 7 to 8 years or 5 years of experience. Or if you are getting more than 10 to 15, in the bracket of 10 to 15 years, that is actually, I must suggest you go with those people. But you require a junior people also to work on. So coming from above to 5 years of experience to that, there is one criteria. And moving on to 10 years to 15 years, there is one criteria. And moving on to 15 to more than that, there is one set criteria. So whenever you are trying to scale up for your council members, advisories, management team, so try to enroll or try to reach out to these people, those who are senior most in the hierarchy in the offices. That is how the things are. See, that is why it is being reflected here. Official 1, CEO, managing director of it. How much exactly it is. Official 2, CEO, general secretary. What all the experience are. Official 3, managing project. Other senior officials, other senior officers. That is how the profiling of the board is to be done. Now, the management committee, that is profiling of the board. Suppose if you are running an NGO, or if you are running a trust, or if you are so management trustees are working on that. If you are running a secondary company, then board members are working on that. So how exactly those board members are? How many board members are there? What all their experiences are? So based on those particular experiences, based on their education qualifications, the scoring and grading of that particular organization is actually for going for the CSR funding. Then comes how the board meetings you are taking care of. Usually all the organizations, even either the Section 8 company or a private limited company or NGO or trust, I must suggest here that each of the organizations should go for a board meeting at least quarterly once. That is 4 board meetings should be done in an year. That is the best way actually out to reaching out the people that we are actually meeting up. We are discussing our things. We are actually taking up how the things are working in our organizations. This gives this particular message. And in SBI Foundation and other higher end foundations, they keep on tracking for about the organizations. How oftenly you are meeting, how oftenly you are discussing about the things. And based on those things, you have to reflect it here. See, in the point number 1 itself, it's been written. How many members are there on the board of directors? How many members are unrelated? how many times does the board of the organization met in the financial year. This point number 3.3, 3.4, whichever is red, written as a red mark, that is having a higher grade scoring numbers actually. That is why it is written. So if you have more numbers, you will be getting more marks on that. If you are meeting more and more oftenly, you are getting more numbers on it. So one more thing, each organization should go with an independent directors also. Although some of the organizations are going with independent board member that is from within the team, or some are going keep on rotating these independent board members. But it is very much necessary if you are having an independent board members. Just leave out how exactly the this thing grading of board members are there as per the corporates, because of course in corporates they will be telling you that if you are having this much volume or worth of work is being done, then only you require to be these many members on your board. Try to actually reach out the people, those who are there, those who can volunteer with you, so that you can, once you submit your proposals, this will give a better edge. If you are having a more numbers of people, voluntary people and experienced people, this will give you a better edge to actually get the CSR funding. So of course, various times it is a very costly affair also, but try to go for a voluntary basis for the board members. Many people are those who are actually voluntarily retired from various organizations, or they are retired people. They comes in and they joins the hands for the social development organizations. So do reach out to those people, or try to reach out to those people. So how many permanent employees are there that is having a higher marks, actually scoring marks for that particular thing, and how many are working as a volunteer, how many are working on the contract basis? This also having separate scoring for that. Now comes on to the policies. Each and every organization should go through the policies of the HR policies. There are somewhere 10 to 12 HR policies which we need to take care of, or for this reason only these board meetings are actually being held up quarterly once. You need to go through all the policies, HR policies, 10 to 12 HR policies, which should be in the place, handwritten, or of course whatever the way you are actually going through that particular policies, but those policies should be in place. The board members should sign on those policies. The policies should be very well exhibited to your organization, at least to the to your registered address, wherever the registered official address are there. This should be having in possession of those policies signed by the board members and signed by the head of the board members. That is, this is very much required, and this is having a separate scoring number on this. So now coming to the infrastructure, how exactly your infrastructure or your organization is working, your place is working. So based on these things, how IT is working for the monitoring part of your organization, how many computers you have, what kind of network you have, how many people are using that particular email, how many emails even you have, what is the MIS app you are using, or what is the MIS structure you are using, or infrastructure you are using. This is having a separate scoring on that. And that organization have well-defined monitoring methods. What are the monitoring methods? How you are monitoring each of the segment of the organization, each of the project deliverance, how you are. And then comes the organization finance, how the long-term funding is being done. How, see, here, if you see, there are 1.7. So 7 types of fundings can be done to any of the organizations, starting from individual donor to companies, or as a part of CSR project, or the corporate foundations you are getting in, or the private grant any of the organization is coming up, multilateral aid agencies if supporting to you like UN, USD, or World Bank, government agencies if they are working. And if you are getting this particular funding, or the organization is getting this particular funding, or these types of funding, they get a different scale or scoring on this. And based on those scorings, actually, they are getting these CSR projects. Now comes to how the recent sources of fundings are comes on for the long-term basis. Who all are the donors, where that particular organization, that particular project was working, what was the worth of that particular project, what was the purpose, what are the activities you did, what are the outcome of that particular, and what all the indicators for which you have measured that particular project or you have worked for that project. What was the impact assessment of that? What was the baseline survey carried on for that? Baseline survey is very much essential here because to track any of the progress, you require a baseline survey. So this is very much required to work in for. And then the frequency of projects, whether it's been done, how you are actually monitoring it, how the funding is coming up. Funding can be coming through monthly basis or the quarterly basis or the annual basis. There are the projects which are being funded at one go on itself. So based on those things, you need to reflect here. And based on those things, you are getting the scoring. How your financial management is working, how your funding utilization reports are being submitted, how many utilizations or reports you have submitted. This is to be reflected. What all the utilization reports are there, monthly, quarterly, annually. What is the standard template? How many times of full-time accountant you are having? How many audits you have up to now? Who all are the audit parties, whether the external parties or the internal parties? There cannot be the internal parties, of course. There has to be an external party, and which party you are working in, who all are those people, and how many areas they have actually done this audit. Likewise, you have to exhibit. If the FCRA is coming in, what is the FCRA number? What are all those bank accounts for those FCRA? How much money is being used for that particular project through FCRA? And what is the left out amount for that particular FCRA? This needs to be. This is the financial details which we are actually exhibiting once we are submitting any of the CSR proposal. So this is more into financial. That is why I'm not taking up, because otherwise you people get confused out of this, what exactly is going on. I'm not able to. Okay, so now comes how the transparency is being there. Transparency in the sense of whenever you are having any of the project or any of the procurement or any of the fund is coming on, resources are moving either in or out to the organizations. You need to be very much specifically transparent to those things. Each of the annual report, each of the financial audits is to be reflected on your websites. And that is why having a website is ultimate necessary for each of the NGOs and each of these trust and of course the Section 8 companies. These reports to be published on those websites. Even more and more stakeholders should know about you, and each and every stakeholder should be aware about your activities too. That is why this thing is there. What all the financial reports are there, what all the key stakeholders are there, who all the auditors of yours, it should be reflected on your website. That is why they are actually looking out for that transparency. Transparency in regard to how the funding is disclosed. Is the source of funding disclosed to external stakeholder? Yes or no? Here, if you are misguiding to any of the organizations, because they keep on tracking with other agencies too, once they are going for the funding. Suppose if a World Bank is funding or even DPI is funding, they are not at all going with these particular answers which you are actually reflecting it here. They keep on actually tracking for those things. So if you are responding to here goes with the negative things, and they keep on monitoring on that from the other agencies, the things goes otherwise. So you need to be very much specifically, very much transparent to these questions. What all the source of funding is coming in, how the organization or individual or donors are working for that. If the organization has corporate donor, who all those corporate donors are. If the organization receives from other trust, you need to exhibit. Suppose yesterday someone was asking the mentor mentee or the mother NGO or the other NGOs. Suppose other NGOs are getting from mother NGOs. Here you need to exhibit. This is the place where you need to exhibit that I got certain fund from this particular NGO to work on this particular project. So that the organization receive government funding. If you are getting anything, any grant from the government agencies, you need to exhibit, and other sources of funding. Suppose you are getting any of the funding, likewise to exhibit to go for your projects. So you have to be very much specifically present these types of things. Who are the name of the agencies, who all are the partners, what are the references, and of course any awards and recognition if the for the organizations that also you need to exhibit. But this will be in the sequence of past year, then the previous year, just next to that particular past year, likewise. So it should be going in the descending order from last year to the start of the year. That is how the things are. Let me. This is the overview of the project. Now, specifically, now you are preparing your project. This is all what you have done up to now. Now, in section 2, you are preparing a project of yours. So, once you are preparing your project, you have to title the project. You have to give the name of that particular project. What exactly the name of that particular project? Once you give the name to that particular project, what is the duration of that particular project? Whether it's for 1 year, whether it's for multi-year, whether it's for 5 years. Each thing you have to write it down here. Brief overview of the proposed project, what you are looking for, what can be the mission of, or what can be the background of that particular project, and what is the introductory part of that particular project, and what you are, how you are going through that for the right projects. That you need to mention. Which all the sectors you are going to work in that particular project, that you have to mention. What can be the corresponding schedules here? Why this has been reflected 1.5, that is corresponding schedule of schedule 7. If organizations have actually charted their bylaws as per the Companies Act of CSR, whenever they are incorporating their organizations, they should go for they should read on actually the Companies Act for the CSR. If they are not at all going with Companies Act of CSR, and then they are going for the association of any of the organization, and in their bylaws, it's been not reflected that this organization is going to do this, or they can cater for this particular services. If it has not been reflected in that particular bylaw, that organization, I'm damn sure that that organization will not go for a CSR funding. So corporates are very much particular about how your this thing AOA, OAM, or your bylaws are written as for those things or not, whether you are really eligible to work on those things or not. So you have to be very much specific for that and correspond to that particular schedule 7 of Companies Act, that is CSR. You need to write here what all exactly. There are, see, yesterday Janmadi was telling you that how the segmentation are there for schedule 7. Under those paras, there are sub-paras. So here you have to give a para and a sub-para of that particular CSR against this point number 1.5. So you have to be very much specifically profound on this, that okay, I know about this particular act, and I know about each of the schedule and the para and sub-para of each of the schedule. Then only you can actually prepare this particular proposal. Then you go for the purpose of that particular proposal, how you are going to work on that, what can be the implementing agencies, who all are working for that particular project, by what can be the timelines of that particular project, which is going to be completed within how many days. This thing needs to be actually entered in that. Here in the 2.1, you have to plan out a budget which is to be for 1 year or 3 year or 5 year. If it totally depends upon the design of the project, whether it's for multi-year or for a single year. But for the complete CSR project, you need to propose a budget. Budget is having a different structure. I will keep on telling you that how exactly the budget is working on this. So total budget you have to propose. You have to propose the exact budget over for the 3 years also and for the 1 year. You have to segment it for quarterly also, monthly also, annually also, and for the 3 year and 5 year. So complete budget you have to be you have to exhibit the here of in the case, and how the other sources of mobilization will be there. You need to present. But can be the next comes the describe the issue, that is the problem statement here. Once you are writing the problem statement, then you are rationalizing that particular need exactly. Why this particular need is, what is the rationalization of that particular problem statement, and then what can be the target population where you are working. Here, once you are reflecting about the target population can be both direct beneficiaries and indirect beneficiaries. You should be very much aware about who all are your direct beneficiaries and who all are your indirect beneficiaries on that. So based on that particular thing, problem statement, then you comes on for the problem solution. You are exhibiting the proposed solution. It cannot be the same, of course, but you are proposing a solution over here. And once the solution is being presented, who all the beneficiaries, this you are writing, applies a new solution to the existing solution problem, and based on the solution, what is the overview of that particular solution. Now comes what can be the outcome of that particular solution which you have proposed. You need to be very much specific about the qualitative outcome and the quantitative outcome. Qualitative in terms of how many people actually are beneficiary in that, and quantitative is because how this life standard is being enhanced by that particular project, or the health condition of that particular area is getting enhanced or upgraded. This is how the quantitative and qualitative, how many numbers of people are, or the maximum number of beneficiaries you have to exhibit. What SDGs, whenever we are talking about CSR projects nowadays, we are aligning each of the CSR project in an inclination to UN SDGs. So if you are working for health, go through these 17 UN SDGs, which SDG you are addressing actually. This you need to propose, and how these SDGs can be impacted. What all the activities by which this particular funding or this particular proposal actually is addressing that particular SDG, and how you are enhancing the number of beneficiaries for that particular SDG. This needs to be specified in this particular segment, point number 5.4. Now comes the evidence. Evidence in the form of the work experience of that particular organization. How many since last 10 years, 4 years, 5 years, people are working for that particular same type of work actually, same type of project, how many years of experience you have. You need to present your evidence also. You need to present your reviews also. Here you can reveal the paper cuttings, the news, and all those things which you have, even the awards and recognition and accolades, everything you need to exhibit. That is the solid way out to exhibit the experience of the organizations. Now comes the project location. Project location can be multiple states and multiple districts, multiple cities. Very much specifically you need to write and rationalize for each of the project location. If you are working for any environment project, do prepare the rationalization of that particular project, that I am working for the drought area, or I am working for the hilly area, or I am working for the area which is very much prone to the natural calamities like flood and all. So this you need to be rationalized, and in the rationalization you can very well present how this is being affected. Suppose a flood is coming very oftenly in eastern part of India, so you have to prepare some of the rationalization on that segmentation. So then comes organization capacity, who all are working, how many people are there, what are their roles and responsibilities, who will be taking what. Here you need to exhibit. And once you are preparing this thing, staff organization infrastructure, that is what you call is the chart, the organization chart. If you are exhibiting an organization chart here, this will do. The complete segmentation will do. Now comes, this is what I was actually talking about now, direct beneficiaries. Are you supporting pregnant women, or are you supporting SHG, or are you supporting girl child, or are you supporting adolescent, or are you supporting infant, children? Who all you are supporting exactly the direct beneficiaries? Entrepreneurs, ASAs, animals, teachers, likewise, etc., etc. Indirect, of course, it can be many. I must say here, all Indians or all the gender of that particular city or that particular town or that particular target area is all are the indirect beneficiaries. But you need to know, or you need to know exhibit how to exhibit these indirect beneficiaries. What can be the best what can be the best way out to exhibit these indirect beneficiaries. States, there are districts you can very well prepare on. Implementation model. Okay. See, implementation model can be in the wave form of Gantt chart. In 3 months of time, what you are going to do. In next 3 months of time, what you are going to do. The third quarter, what you are going to do, and the fourth quarter, how you are. That is how we are preparing. Which team is working on that particular segment? First 3 months. Which team is going to work for next 3 months, and how the other team members are aligned for each of the year and each of the quarterly based activities. This you need to exhibit in the implementation model. This is how, what are the activities, what are the sub activities, what can be the output indicators, how you are verifying this particular segment or workings on that, whether it's been done, and if it's been done, the output is there. What can be the verification model or mode? I must say that what can be the mode of verification, that whether it's been done or not. This you need to exhibit, and you need to exhibit exactly the result of that particular verification. Assumptions, of course, assumptions, what was the problem statement was, and means of verifications is how you really achieve that particular thing. So that is how the things are. The timeline, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Each of the segment, if you are reflecting it beforehand in the proposal, your proposal will get accepted and you will get the funding too. But see, for each of the activities, you have to exhibit the same. Either you are doing one activity or you are doing 4 activities. For each of the activities and sub activities, you need to go through Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And in this particular Gantt chart, it's not only that Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 you are working in. The same thing goes with the budget also. So it is very much aligned with the budget. Q1 you are going to work for this particular activities. So budget allotted for Q1 is this. Budget you are going to do activities for Q2. This budget allotted for Q2 is this. That is how we are actually reflecting in our CSR proposals for how you are going to monitor that particular thing. The CSR activities. What is the governance structure and what is the monitoring mechanism you are putting in place of, either in form of videos or in form of pics or in kind of apps. There are now the technical intervention is so huge, and the technical disruption is so huge that each of the organizations, NGOs are working with some of the other apps. They are either by using of the coding or something else, but they are with the use of this particular coding or with the use of this particular technical interventions, they are actually able to monitor. Even the transit of articles can be monitored. Even if I see the structure of Niti Aayog, what they have asked for the NGOs to do is, all the NGOs need to geotag their organization address. That is the official address of all the organizations is being geotagged nowadays. And nothing needs to be done here actually. If they are asking for the geotagging, only thing you have to go to the Google. On the Google map, just check on your address, put on your address, take out the coordinates from the Google map, use that particular coordinate and place it on the Niti Aayog address, Niti Aayog website. That's it. Your organization, your office address of the organizations, NGOs, Section 8 companies, geotag. This is how the Niti Aayog is working. And other ministries are also asking for the same thing. We require a coordinate of your office, and you have to put that particular coordinate. If you go to the NGO Darpan website, it is very well there. I keep on visiting for NGO Darpan websites, and they're asking for the geotagging of your organization. So this is how the monitoring is being done, and the tracking of the items. Now there are certain organizations which are asking that if you are going for any of the movement for any of the articles, all those articles should be geotagged. If the articles are geotagged, we are okay with that. We can very well track in sitting in our office itself. So only thing you need to send as soon as that particular item actually moves out from the godown or moves out from any of the warehouse, they start tracking on that, and the item, once the item get reached out to that organization or the beneficiary, that also get tracked by that particular system. Even if I take the case of COVID-19 relief, there was certain fundings comes through USA, UN, UK, on the World Bank. What they did is they shared the Google Sheet to all the organizations, the NGOs, beneficiaries, and asked all the organizations to share the report through this thing, photographs, through the audios, through the photographs, and through the beneficiary list. They're asking first the beneficiary list, and then they are geotagging that particular beneficiary list as per the this thing Aadhaar card, and then they're asking all the organizations, whenever you are giving your articles to the beneficiaries, keep messaging us with the photographs, keep messaging us with the audio, keep messaging us with the video. And that is how the monitoring has been done through. For all the CSR being funded through various organizations which are funding through from overseas, of course. Because overseas people are very much constrained once they are giving a fund, because in our country, the accountability is highly actually questionable. So those organizations are going for this these types of monitoring mechanisms, and likewise we can also do. So what is the governance structure? What you are going to do? What is the monitoring mechanism you are going to do? This you need to do exhibit here. Then comes recording and reporting. Likewise the same. How the baseline data is being collected, what metrics will be tagged and reported, what will be reported in each of these reports. This needs to be actually submitted. And based on these things, you are getting the marking and evaluation is being done. And then the impact assessment. Once the project is being completed, the impact assessment is being done. And based on the proposed impact assessment, the scoring is being done. And they keep on tracking the indicators of the impact assessments. And based on those trackers, based on those indicators, you are getting the scoring on against that. And based on the scoring, you are actually being evaluated commutatively for the CSR proposal. So even what are the one best ways, what are the one best modes you are going for your project for the sustainability? Whenever you are, whenever any of the organization is giving you the fund, they are asking that whether you yourself can sustain that particular project or not. You yourself can cater to those needs or those beneficiaries or not. Whether your people can cater on that, how much fund you yourself can actually try on to get towards those beneficiaries. This you need to exhibit. What are the project sustainabilities? What is the exit strategy for that particular organization? Suppose by chance any of the organizations is being actually not able to fund you for that particular project, and you are on the end phase of that particular project, that is for the fourth quarter or for the final quarter of that particular project. How you go and sustain that for that particular project, that you need to exhibit. And based on that particular exit strategy of the organizations, they are actually evaluating that exit policy of that particular organization. And based on those policies, based on that particular strategy, the scoring is there. So sustainability has always been the higher questionable remarks, which is being looked on by all the corporates and all the organizations. What is the scaling? How you can scale up? Whether that particular project can go for multiple cities, even that can be replicated to other states or not. This you need to be actually mentioned there. And based on each segmentation, each scoring, actually, and based on the evaluation as per those pointers, you are getting the CSR funding. So you can very well imagine to prepare this particular 20 pointers of the CSR, 20 pointers for SBI Foundation, how the proposal writing is taking time, and specifically they are looking for each of the policies which are each of the policies which you are looking for or which they are looking towards whenever the organizations are working. So this is how SBI HF is found asking for. This is the one way out. This is the one way out actually to go for CSR funding and prepare your proposal. Let me give you the other other way out for the CSR proposal to write. This is as per the proposal that request for proposal from SBI Foundation. But suppose you don't have in your hand any of this RFP. There is no such RFP in your hand, and you are not at all eligible to go for an RFP. Then also you can prepare these projects. But what can be the way out for preparing that particular project? Let me explain you. What can be the way out for that? See, general information I told about you, how to write about the information of the NGOs, organization names, CIs, each and everything about the organizations, the organization background. Next comes finance and compliances. This is very much specific for each of the organizations. This is how the finance is coming in from the donor side for the projects, subgrants, admin, others likewise. This is how the these are the policies. The point number 4 are the policies which I was actually and SBI Foundation was looking out for. How the employee code of conduct is there in your organization. What is the conflict of interest policy is there? What is the policy for whistleblower? What is the policy for sexual harassment? What is the policy for corruption and anti-bribery? What is the policy for procurement, HR, board management, documentation, child protection? What is the policy for program quality and governance and transparency? This has to be there with you in your organizations. Now, project proposal, I had already narrated how the thematic area is to be done, how the project budget is to be done, what can be the budget duration, status, location. This all been exhibited in the previous slide itself. But here, some of the things which are being missing there out actually. They were asking for the logical framework, of course, they were asking for. But what the logical framework is asking for, they're asking for the description here. What you are describing as an assumption, and what are the indicators for that particular assumption, and what is the source of information for that assumption, for that particular problem statement and the solutions. Here you are aligning the problem statement and the assumptions and the solutions, and then exhibiting this logical framework analysis. This is very much specifically required for each of the organizations to prepare logical framework. Yeah, Asriya, please tell me your question if you have any queries here.
Yes, sir. So basically, I wanted to know, like when we do all these things, the scoring, as you said, the scoring would go cumulative or it goes as an average scoring, the first thing. The second thing is when you were talking about the exit strategy, like when we say that 2-3 organizations, direct and indirect beneficiaries. So in that case, how would the exit strategy go?
See, the direct beneficiaries and indirect beneficiaries are something which is been asked for the project deliverance. Okay, it's not that it's been asked for the exit strategy of the beneficiaries. No, they are asking for the who all will be the direct beneficiaries of your project. Okay, and exit step and the assumptions or the evaluations for each of the segmentation. Suppose you take exit strategy, or if you take the policies, or if you take the SDGs, or if you take the sustainability, they are giving in RFP that, okay, for SDG, there will be 5 marks. For policies, there will be 10 marks. For budgeting, post-budgeting, there will be 15 marks. For the board of directors, trustees, and officials working in the project, there will be 15 marks. So they are grading for each of the segmentation. This been reflected in RFP, that for each of the segment, how many marks will be there, or what can be the evaluation criteria. And based on those particular criteria, a cumulative addition is there. A total cumulative addition will be there on the evaluation.
So it's a cumulative addition, not the
It will be the cumulative addition. It will be the cumulative addition. But see, suppose what I'm trying to say here is 15 number marks is being given. The higher percentage is being given to the officials or the experience officials or the experience of the organization. Suppose take the case of any of the project, okay, and 15 number have been given allotted for the experience of the organization. 15 number is being given to the experience of the individuals. So out of 100 marks, 30 number marks are allotted for the experience of the individual. Then comes 10 marks for the this thing, deliverance of that particular project, the team members.
okay.
So 50 numbers goes off likewise. So you need to be very much specific. You need to be very much specific to go through this particular RFP. That RFP is asking for what? RFP is asking for more about the experience number, or RFP is asking for more about the experience of the organization. Sometimes some organizations are asking for more of the people to work. They require more number of manpower to be there in your
Got it.
organizations.
Understood. Yes. And how do we keep a record of their qualitative and quantitative outcome? In that case, what you mentioned. So this outcome could be things which quantitative. Okay, this is a quantity which we catered, and this is the lifestyle changes. What you mentioned, we did it. But then, how do we know? Like, what is the proof? Any other assessments and all can be done? Like surveys, assessment. Are there any other ways we can do this?
Once the project is there on the place, okay, there are 3 things which we are doing. In the initial phase, we are doing the need assessment. That is why we did the session for the need assessment. Okay, during the need assessment, what was minus to their particular life standard is reflected. Okay, during the baseline survey, once the project is on the board, on the ongoing project is there, we do the baseline survey. And during baseline survey, there are two outcomes of the baseline survey. The first outcome is how exactly the project is going, whether it's going towards a positive direction or not, whether all the milestones are being achieved or not. Okay, whatever the milestone for that particular quarter or half yearly or yearly, the milestone we have set out, that is being met out or not. First thing. Second thing, the baseline survey is really telling about really the change which is being occurred during this particular 3 months or 6 months of phase. That is being also exhibited in that particular baseline. And once the impact assessment is being done, there are indicators. Even if you see, yesterday, I think, no, not yesterday, for the need assessment, I presented the indicators. Go through that particular slide.
Yes.
There are the indicators. So once we are preparing a need assessment, we are going that with that particular indicators, and that indicators are exhibited in our impact assessment too. This difference between the need assessment and between the impact assessment will give the qualitative.
Understood.
Okay, that is why it is required that you need to go through the need assessment and then the impact assessment.
Understood.
Okay, so
Thank you, sir.
yeah, anything else?
Just one thing, which was exit strategy. How do we plan out the exit strategy?
See, for exit strategy, what all the instances where someone can exit? Who all are the parties exposed? Of course, Who all are the parties? Suppose a CSR proposal is signed, a MOU has been signed between me and you. Who all can exit? Either me or you. Okay. So I am placing my exit strategy. Okay, once I will left out with this particular project, if I'm not there with the project with Shreya Jain. Okay, this will be the policies. These all the legislations. These all are the laws which will guide us for the exit policies. These all things I need to do before exiting from that particular project. And
Okay.
what all the things I will be keep on actually adding on, or how much long I will be hand holding for you for that
Tenure,
particular
basically the tenure period.
the tenure period, or what all the activities for which I can hands on. I can handhold you even for the exit strategy also. There are certain things for which an organization can go for handholding even during the exit strategy also. What can be the time duration where I will ask my people or other organizations to come in, give a capacity building to them that okay, I will not be there for that particular organization, but you come in and you actually handhold them, but I need to train them. So this is also to be reflected in exit strategy, that either of the party, if someone is going off, but what can be the time duration?
Got it.
Okay.
Understood.
Like
Yes, yes.
like any of the organization where you are working in, you are giving your time period now, that okay,
Yes.
I will be there for 2 months, or I will be there for 3 months for sure. Then only I will leave this particular organization. That is how the exit strategy is to be drafted, and what all the activities can be done through during this exit period also. Okay, this we should know about to go for the exit strategy.
Perfect. Got it.
Now comes, of course, sometimes we are very much scared about how to propose a budget. Whenever we are trying to go for a budget for CSR, we are always in middle of the thing, how to go for it, what is to be done. So this is the structure actually where we can work on. What are the list of activities you are doing? How many units you are working for? What is that cost of per unit, and what is the amount for that per unit? That is the things you are working for. Okay, and based on this particular segmentation, you can actually divide your proposed project into project cost, salary cost, admin cost, and then the total cost is coming. So this is the way out to propose your budget. That is the project cost, salary cost, admin cost. What all are there? What all are there in the salary cost? Let me go through it. See, once we get RFP in hand, this is the guideline for the proposal. This is the guideline of the SBI Foundation. They are very much particular about what is to be written. The proposal must be direct, concise, and complete. All information not directly relevant to this RFP should be omitted, which is not at all required, need not to reflect there. The implementation plan should be mentioned in a step approach. Each step is to be mentioned there once you are preparing a workflow for CSR activities. That is the Gantt chart. For all the quarters you have to exhibit. The proposed project that work with are supported by the government and can contribute to strengthening health system will be required. Suppose you are, this is in consideration of that particular project which they were asking for the help. If you are supporting any of the government project or government machinery for that health system, they are considering that particular project for that, those agencies for that. In RFP, they are very well mentioning the completeness of responses, about the agencies, about right to terminate the process, language of proposal, documentation, and one very necessary thing, what can be the minimum annual turnover of that particular organization. The point number D, this is very much essential for all the organizations to go through it. In any of the RFP, they are exhibiting that who the organizations, those who are going to actually submit their proposal. In this particular case, their minimum annual turnover should be 10 crore rupees Indian, in 10 crore rupees INR for the last 3 years. The organizations which are not coming under this 10 crore turnover, they cannot file up the proposal. Each and everything they are writing it. What can be the proposal cost? How can you can submit? What can be if the late submission is there? And these all the documents, list of documents which is to be checked on: proposal form, 2 donor feedbacks, memorandum of association, registration act, certification, 12A, ATG, FCRA, PAN card, address, ITR return, audit report, self declarations wherever required, annual reports, organization profile, brief biodata of organization, board members, top management, HR policies. These all are the policies, minutes of board meeting, financial policy, or origami, that is organization structure, detailed budget sheet in Excel, third-party evaluation, audit report, MIS planning, profile of key leaders, press reports, awards, feedback. Now, this is what Shreya, you were asking for. See, if we
Yes.
go through the this thing, RFP, wait a while.
Sir, you're on mute.
Today I am going up and down only because of my all the people now, they are moving here and there. Okay, so let me share you. See, once we talk about the criteria, what is the innovation? If you see the yesterday also or day before yesterday also, when Meghna ji was presenting, she was also asking for the innovation. When Janmajay was speaking, he was also asking for the innovation in the project. Why innovation in the project they were asking for? Because of this reason. For any of the project, if innovation is there, that gets a maximum marks of 10. Even in the case of this particular RFP of State Bank of India Foundation, SBI Foundation, they have given scaling gradually they have graded it to maximum number of 10 marks. Likewise, for risk mitigation, they are giving 5 marks. They are asking for 5 marks, those who are actually exhibiting. And see, Shreya, if you go through this particular one, what all the rationale can be
Yes.
given on identification of key risks associated and their subsequent mitigation measures are important to ensure project sustainability, replicable and sustainable interventions. This is what the risk mitigation measures are. And this is to be exhibited in the exit strategy of any of the organizations. For innovation of the project, innovation in technology and financing models aligned with government priorities strengthening of healthcare ecosystem. They are very much particular about each of the segment. For log frame, see, if you have prepared the log frame for each of the activities, output, and means of verification, 10 marks is been given to you. If you are exhibiting this thing in your proposal, you will be getting 10 out of 10. It totally depends upon you. The project timeline, they have given 5 marks. Project monitoring and evaluation, for 2 they have given for data MIS, and 6 they have given for the methodology of monitoring. Likewise, exit strategy, here again they are asking, if you are exhibiting your exit strategy, 10 marks they are asking for. Intervention of project that can be taken up by the government or financially or operational sustainability. Volunteering opportunity, if the organizations are coming up with volunteers to work in, 5 marks are given into this. And the grand total is 10, subtotal is 75. So RFP, whenever the RFP is there in hand, please go through all these things. Please go through this criteria, because based on this criteria, your proposal will be evaluated. And based on that particular evaluation, you will get the acceptance. I think you might have got some of the idea how to go for a CSR proposal. And now floor is open to you all. For any of the queries, please let me know. If any queries are there or anything is left out, so that I can take up. Rita madam has asked if every company has to mandatorily submit this CSR proposal. See, madam, the thing is, whenever your organization is going to work with any of the CSR funding, you have to present this CSR proposal to them. If an NGO is working with any of the corporate, or there can be the chances that corporate are directly asking to you that I required a proposal from your end. So if you are an NGO, if you are running a trust or a Section 8 company, your CSR proposal will give you a better chance to get that particular funding. It depends upon that. Of course, CSR proposal is submitting a CSR proposal is mandatory for all those who are getting CSR funding. It's not mandatory for all the organizations, those who are not at all going for CSR funding. But for CSR funding, it is mandatory. Higher end organizations or big corporates, they are coming with their RFPs. But some of the organizations, they are asking organizations to share their proposals, and based on the innovation of that particular proposal or based on the beneficiaries or the thought of that particular proposal, how that particular proposal is going to work on, that is actually more relevant towards CSR proposal writing. So please let me know if any queries are there with anyone. Or so thank you, Rita ma'am. Thanks. I can see on the board there is no such query in hand. If something is left out, so I don't think anything is left out. It's 5:22. Thanks for you all to be with me, patiently listening how to go for CSR proposal. I and my people, those who are working in the domain of CSR, and all the professionals are very much happy if you are coming up with any of the series. Yeah, madam, Rita madam, please, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
I wanted to know this quantitative was with respect to lifestyle enhancement. What is this qualitative?
Qualitative or quantitative? Qualitative. Okay. See, usually how I go through the qualitative is lifestyle. We always go through the happiness index of India. We always go through the payout capacity of the India. There are certain market research being catered across country, and we are actually using those particular market research conclusions or findings once we go through these things. Suppose I'm taking about any of the CSR proposal and delivering a CSR proposal in any of the rural area or urban area. I'm sure I'm either in the education or the health or even the environment also. Directly or indirectly, it is related to our own self. Okay, and once education is there or the health is there, the health ratio will be there. Okay, health happiness will be there, health indicators will be there. How many people were working in that particular rural area? Now, how many people again after 1 year or so? How many people? What are the earning payout of those people area? Now, suppose if I take the case of any of the village, earlier they were earning some 3,000 or 4,000 rupees in a year, in a month, and now because of that particular skill development project or that particular project which is giving the enhancement of skill and enhancement of their payout also. So their payout actually increases on that. And that is what we are exhibiting. That okay, previously they were earning 3,000 rupees, now they are going to earn 6,000 rupees. There is an enhancement of 3,000 rupees. This 3,000 rupees will enhance their livelihood, their lifestyle, their health, their education, their child dependency, each and everything the money will be addressing on. So that is how we are actually executing.
Because of the skill development which they have done through this project.
Suppose any of the skill development they are doing, by doing that skill development project, in the future aspect of that skill development is they will be getting the income generation.
Right.
Either they are going for self income generation projects, that is entrepreneurship, or they will be working somewhere. But
Okay.
because of that particular skill development, the enhancement in their salary or the income will be there.
Yeah.
And that is what exactly we are exhibiting in those projects.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Ramarao. Any other queries? I can present some of case studies also here, which I have actually presented as a CSR proposal. But we have a very limited time frame for that is 1 hour or so. In 1 hour and or so, we cannot go for so many presentations and so many case studies, because I keep on actually sending these CSR proposals for so many organizations, for so many NGOs. So that is why. I can send it to you personally if you send me the mail to me for hands-on experience, how exactly those proposals are, how those what all those direct beneficiaries are there in that particular project, what all those indirect beneficiaries, and of course how we are actually working for exit strategy and sustainability of those projects. There are the case studies also in my with my people also, those who are working for this. So, thanks. I think no other queries. If someone is having any of the query, you can always, you are most welcome. You can write it on my email ID, either my email ID or my organization email ID. You might be having both the email IDs, so I can very well go through it. Yes, I would like to have one of those forms. I will send you over. Okay, ma'am. Okay, I will. So thank you to all. Tomorrow we will be having a I must say very much connected sessions are there. Why I did this particular CSR proposal is today actually. Earlier in this particular conference, I scheduled it for the day of 3rd or 4th of September. But all the organizations or all the individuals, those who are actually presenting their proposal, they ask us that we don't have any format for CSR proposal. So how we can present it? That is why I did it beforehand. So now you guys are having the format in your hand. You can prepare your projects accordingly. If you are stuck up at any place, I'm there to help you out, and you can very well exhibit. Even I have prepared a general presentation too, and that was there in today's presentation actually. But because of the time slot, that is for 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, 1.5 hours, I am not able to exhibit, but I will be sharing that particular thing to you, how we can go for a general writing for that. Okay, thank you. Thank you to you all. And I'm closing the sessions. Thanks to Mandakini ji for helping me out. And thanks to all. Thanks, Nitish, on the board. I request if all the people can switch on their videos so that I can have a peek. I think Mandakini, you have those pics. Thank you. Thank you to all. She is always there with me. Mandakini ji, thank you, ma'am.